All right, so one of the biggest requests that I get besides to delete the channel is to do a shop tour. So today I'm going to take you around my shop and show you what I got going on here and kind of talk about how I laid things out and why I set things up the way that I did so you can kind of get an idea of my workflow. So to get started, let's go outside so you can see the outside of the building to get an idea of how big the shop is. All right, so the outside of the building is 12 by 15, but on the inside is 25 by 30. All right, so let's start with the lumber rack here. It is very conveniently located right inside the door here, so that way I can just open the door, back my truck up, and load everything I have right into the rack, ready to go for later use. All right, and it's also very conveniently located right here next to the table saw, so that way when I start a new project or as I'm working on a project, I can sort out the boards that I like. Just lay them out here on the table saw so I can get a good look at what the grain looks like and what boards I want to use. And then the boards that I want to use will go right behind you to the assembly table to where they'll be processed, and the boards that I don't want to use will go right back up in the rack. All right, so the rack itself is made out of tube steel, 1 inch by 1 inch, and it's an 1/8 inch thick. The shelves themselves are 18 inches deep and they're spaced about 6 inches apart or so. And I just welded it up. There is a video on the channel somewhere here of me welding this up if you wanted to check it out. All right, and then each bracket is mounted about 2 feet apart, or if you're gonna build this, I'd mount it to wherever you have a good stud location. All right, then directly below the lumber rack, I have my sheet goods and scrap wood rack. And if you want to build this, I do have plans available. You can download those guys. But this has been a lifesaver for keeping everything nice and organized as far as sheet goods and scrap wood go. It's on wheels, so when I want to pull a piece out, I can just pull it out away from the wall, slide my piece out, and get to work. And then when I load it, it's positioned so that way I can just swing the other end out to face to the outside and just load right out of the truck and load the plywood goods right into the rack. All right, so next to the sheet goods, it's winter time, so right now I just have this little heater in here, and this is enough to keep the chill out of the shop but not make it warm. So it's pretty much always cold in here, but not that big of a deal. So I have my floor sweep. If you watched my dust collection video, you know a little bit more about that guy. Pretty self-explanatory. Sweep it in, it sucks it up into the dust collector. This is my router table that I have plans for available for download as well if you want to build this guy. Inside here, I have the Incra Clean Sweep system, and then inside of that, I have the 3 horsepower Porter cable router system. The overall design of the cabinet is kind of the green and green style with these nice little cloud lifts, so it'll be the fanciest piece of shop furniture I have so far. All right, and then the lift that is in it is the Incra lift. It's fantastic. I love this thing. Smooth operation, easy to dial in your heights. And then for the fence, I have kind of the Norm Abrams style split plywood fence with some tracks in it to put feather boards and things on there. All right, so above the router table, I have the shelves that I built this last summer. So if you want to watch that video, I'll put a link to that somewhere. And then in the shelves, so this first one is some miscellaneous stuff that I need to organize. Then in the rack next to it, I have my nail guns. And right above it is a sorting bin that keeps all the different sizes of nails for these guns sorted out and ready to go. I also, you know, flat surface disease, no matter what I try, I always end up piling stuff up on the flat surface. So at some point I will get those put away into that sorter there. All right, so next I have some routers. One is somewhere in the shop, so it's MIA right now, but I got some more routers, some sanders. And then that guy is my vacuum pump for my vacuum bag that gets stored up there when not in use. That vacuum bag is large enough to veneer a full sheet of plywood, so it's kind of a luxury to have, I think. Then of course I got track saw, dominoes there. Then we get into the hand tools. I'm a big fan of Japanese saws over a traditional Western saw. I just feel like my body mechanics gives me a lot more control. Then I have some hand planes, and then my chisel rack. And if you watch the build video of the chisel rack and read the comments, everybody thought that I was going to slit my wrist open with the chisels pointing up, but we are still in good condition here, so not a worry. All right, so then between the mess and the router table, I have my welder. It's a Lincoln electric welder, a 180 Pro MIG. I use a gas. I think that's a 80% argon, 20% carbon, or vice versa. That's just my preferred gas at my skill level. It gives me the least amount of splatter, so it saves me a lot of grinding. All right, so within this mess here, I have some glue storage, sharpening stones. Ideally, I try to keep this table clean when I'm working so I can just keep touching up my tools as I go. But as you see, we got a little bit of a mess there. I'm a big fan of the West Systems epoxies. I've never had an issue and they always work great with me. It's like a little glue station nestled away in there. So hopefully one of these days I will be able to build some new cabinets down here that are as nice as these guys, just to clean up this mess so it's not so embarrassing, a little bit more organized. All right, so then of course next to the chisels we have a mallet rack and the James King hammer. Everybody needs a James King hammer. I kind of lost interest in the organization project and never actually finished those little tool holders there, but someday maybe. All right, and then this door just goes to the bathroom. All right, nothing special there. Everybody's seen one of those before. So some more miscellaneous storage. I have these cool little bins that I built a while ago that has all the dominoes and stuff in them. So keeps everything nice and handy, ready to go. So moving right along, between the domino storage and the miter station, I have this new shop door that I built. And if you want to learn how to build this door, it will be a Wood Whisperer Guild project. So definitely go over there and check it out. It is not launched yet. It'll sometime launch spring of 2023 here. I love the green and green style, so I love having that as my shop door. Now on the other side of this door, is my spray booth. All right, so behind this filter stack is an explosion-proof fan. The filters sometimes get clogged, so as you can see, the fan is getting abused pretty good. Now the strength of this fan is okay. It's not great. I'd really like to get another one to stick in this wall somewhere and maybe build this filter wall out all the way across the whole side of the building here, so that way when the fans are running, the whole room is moving all that overspray out of the building. But these guys are $1,000 plus for an explosion-proof fan, so they're pretty expensive. So I used to spray a lot with this turbine, and it's an okay machine. The only reason why I still have it is because if I need to spray something out at a client's house, it's portable. But what I really like is a compressor-driven gun, because you have an infinite number of adjustability over your pressure and other things on the gun. So my go-to gun right now is an MXP30 from Fuji Spray. I just love this gun. It works really great. It'll spray a pretty wide range of materials, down from real thin lacquers all the way up to some thin latex paints. All right, so then I built this shop-made jig to hold it up so I can fill the cup and just keep it standing upright. You can buy a store-bought one, but it's fairly wily and rickety. And the thing I like about my shop one is that it has a French cleat on the back, so I can bring it to where I am working. So I can set it right up here, right against the wall next to where I'm spraying. I can set my spray gun in there, grab the gun, spray the board, set it down, flip the board over, grab the gun, spray the board, or whatever I need to do. So this is very solid. The gun never falls off. So yeah, highly recommended. Now, the last thing I want to show you before we go back into the main shop is my adjustable drying rack. You can stretch it out if you have really long boards you want to lay on it. And to put on it, I just have these conduits here. So slide these in, and it's on wheels, so you can spin it around. So you can rest a board on this side and then rest a board on this side. Or if you have a narrow board, or doing a bunch of narrow boards, just shorten it up, apply your finish, and then set it on there to dry. All right, and then you just keep adding your supports in here, depending on how much you're going to dry that day. Just set your boards on here and just keep going. Both sides holds a ton of stuff. So even if you don't have a spray booth or a spray area in your hand brushing stuff takes a really long time to dry. So this is great for that application too. So highly recommend one of these guys. All right, you're probably noticing a reoccurring theme at this point that there are little messes everywhere in my shop. My shop is not for show, it's for work. So the messes flex with the type of work that I'm doing. And right now this was left over from the last thing I sprayed. So before I start the next spray project, I'll do a quick cleanup and get it ready. But everything is always just in a state of flux. So most of you are probably going to want to know what type of finishes I use. I typically, for most cases, use a Sherwin-Williams conversion varnish to spray. All right, so let's head back into the shop. All right, so let's talk about the miter station next. All right, so in my miter station, I have the Festool Capex, and it is a fantastic saw if you are a trim carpenter out in the field working in clients' homes. It's great dust collection, it's super accurate, but I think if I had to do it all over again, I'd probably get the Bosch Glide. It's a lot of money for bells and whistles that I don't use very much now that I don't do trim carpentry anymore, where I'm basically in the shop every day. For accuracy, when I want to really make an accurate cut, I almost always use a table saw unless the board is just too long and wieldy, then I'll cut it here. So this is just usually for convenient cuts is what I use this for. All right, and so then above it, I just have some scrap wood. So you cut a piece off, throw it up there, out of the way, kind of a situation. Then I have the Lee dovetail jig. This is a fantastic machine. I know a lot of people say it's way too complicated for what it is, and yes, it is complicated. But if you use it a lot on a lot of projects, it pays for itself very quickly because it's a very quick and accurate way to make a whole bunch of dovetails if you're doing a kitchen cabinet type of a project. And once you learn how to use it, it's not really that complicated. All right, and then above that, I have a whole bunch of clamp storage. Insert obligatory joke about clamp storage. Woodworkers can never have too many clamps. All right, and then the miter saw fence is in line with the radial arm saw. I know there's a lot of controversy about the safety of radial arm saws, but I love this thing. It is not super accurate, but what I use it most for is breaking down lumber. Nothing beats this for just being able to throw up a rough cut stock piece of 12-quarter, any type of wood, and it chews right through it very well. So that's its main purpose, and that's the start of every project, is to break down your lumber, and getting it broken down fast is totally worth for me for having this in the shop. All right, now the actual miter station itself is basically cobbled together with 2x4s and some scrap plywood. I hope to build some cabinets and other functional storage type stuff here in the future, but that's just as money and time allows. If you watch the cutting board video, you know how I handle all the scrap wood underneath here, and it looks like we're about ready to build some more cutting boards or something of that nature. All right, so we're circling around here. We're in the opposite corner from where we started. If we go all the way around, we started over there, the lumber rack, hand tools, miter station, radial arm saw. Now this little corner, of course, there's some more messes down there, and hopefully someday I'll build some cabinets to put all that stuff in, and a lot of it's scrap wood that just needs to go do something else. Hardware storage, screw storage, drill bit storage type of stuff, bandsaw storage, sandpaper storage, and then this drill press. This drill press is a 16-speed, what does that say, Guardian Power. I don't know anything about it. A friend was moving across the country and didn't want to pay to have it moved, so he just gave it to me. So it's a great little drill press for what it is. It's pretty old, so who knows? It's probably built like a tank compared to what you can get today. This wall, I plan on building some more cabinets to put some stuff in here, but that brings me to my jointer. All right, so the jointer is an 8-inch helical head, 240 volt. I don't remember how many horsepower it has, a sufficient amount to do what I ask of it. It's set up to where I have at least clear 8 feet that way and clear 8 feet this way. So most boards that I buy are 8 feet. And so the longest I'm ever going to joint, unless it's a special occasion, is 8 feet or shorter. So that way I have plenty of room coming into the jointer and leaving the jointer without any issues. All right, so now above the jointer is my disc sander, and it's just set up on a little plywood base that's just tall enough to clear the fence of the jointer. And this saves me a lot of space. It just tucks right back in here against the wall. So that way, when I'm working on this sander, I'm totally clearing the jointer fence. So there's no issue or a problem there with it. And for dust collection, I have my big drum sander here. And they basically share this quick release thing that I have that just slides onto that. And then when I'm done with that, if I want to go back to the drum sander, it goes right on there, no problem. And the jointer has its own dedicated line. All right, so speaking of the drum sander is one of the few tools that I have on a mobile base. And the shop is mostly covered in these rubber mats, but I have a spot in the floor where the rubber mats don't cover, and that is so the drum sander can just roll out into that space. All right, and so for short material, it's basically ready to go just like it is. If I have something long or something wider when I want to take advantage of the full thing, the planer is also on a mobile base, and it can just move out of the way. All right, and so for the planer is a 15-inch wide helical head, 230 volts. It works great. It never gives me any problems at all. I love this thing. All right, and then when I positioned it in the shop, I did the same thing as the jointer. I made sure I had 8 feet of clear space coming into the planer and then 8 feet leaving the planer. So it is positioned about 8 feet, a little bit more away from that door. Now, if I ever need to joint anything or plane anything wider, I can always open that door, and I really have a good 12, 15 feet before I get to the miter station, which is back against that wall over there. All right, so between the planer and the table saw, I have my bandsaw, and it is the Laguna 1412, 240 volt. It is a great machine. It resaws great. The one downside I have with this machine is that for a 12-inch resaw capacity, the motor is a little undersized, so it kind of bogs down a little bit. But for the price, I don't think that's that big of a deal, knowing what I paid for it or what they sell these for. If they would have put a more powerful motor in there, it would probably been a lot more expensive. So that's one of those trade-offs. All right, and then of course, positioning the bandsaw, it's set forward just in front of the table saw, so I have room to work around it. And there is more than 8 feet coming into the saw, and just barely 8 feet to where it hits the wall there. If I have to resaw something really long, I'll have to roll the drum sander out of the way. All right, and then the table saw is a Delta unit saw. It is 3 horsepowers, so it's got plenty of power for what I do. I've had it for a really, really long time, so this was before they put splitters or riving knives on the saw. So this doesn't have a riving knife, but I use the M splitter or MJ splitter. I'm not really sure what it's called anymore because I've had it for so long in there. And that works reasonably well. I'm hoping to upgrade to a saw stop at some point in the future. All right, so under the saw here, I have this cabinet that I built, and there is a video of that guy on my channel somewhere here. So in there I have the wedgie jig for segmented rings, the tinning jig that I never use, I probably should sell and just get rid of it. Some miscellaneous feather boards and tools in there. Then this bottom drawer, saw blade storage. This guy has an adjustable sliding bins in it that has some star knobs and things, and some clamps down here for building jigs. So that way, no matter what I'm doing, I can quickly build a jig and have everything I need right on hand. And then in the shadows there is my dado set. And these two cubbies are for some additional jigs that I use fairly frequently here at the table saw. All right, and then so above the table saw, I have this tool storage which hangs from the ceiling, and it keeps everything not directly above the blade for safety, but right at hand. So no matter what I'm doing, I always have my my miter fence, my ink remiter gauge right there, ready to go. Has push sticks, squares, pencils, feather boards, table blade inserts. Then I have some gauges and angle finders, so everything I could possibly need at the table saw is right here ready to go. All right, and then positioning for the table saw, it is just barely 8 feet before it hits the door. So if I need to rip something wider, I can raise the door up and rip whatever I need, no problem, close the door. And then from the blade to the motor of the lathe here is 4 feet. So I have no problem getting a full sheet of plywood up here and cutting it to whatever dimension I need. All right, so my lathe is a Grizzly lathe. I don't really know the specs on it because I don't use it very much, and that's partly because I don't think it's a very good lathe. It has a lot of vibration, the tailstock never stays tight. No matter what kind of adjustments I do to it, it's always just loosening up, just moving its way over. The whole lathe walks across the floor. Even when I had sandbags down there, it just seems to be out of balance or something. Like I don't know what's wrong with it, or if it's a user error, but it is not user friendly for me. So let's just move on. Next to that is my spindle sander, and dust collection shares with the spindle sander, and someday I'll build something that I can just slide it over to the lathe if I ever get back into turning again. And then just a grinding wheel here in this back corner. That's all behind the table saw. The table saw has an L shape to it, so there's always this little wasted space. So a little lathe sanding station is kind of how I decided to make use of that space. All right, and so then that brings us back around here where we left off. The CNC machine. It's just a little baby CNC. It's a little Piranha you get from Rockler, so it does a nice job, but it's I quickly outgrew it. As soon, or I shouldn't say as soon, but not long after I bought it, I realized I wish I bought a bigger one, but I don't really have room for a bigger one, so I don't use it as much as I would have liked. All right, and then next to the CNC machine is my dust collector. It's a 5 horsepower Clearview. It does fine. It sucks up a lot of dust. I am really disappointed in the build quality. So if you care about build quality, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're on a budget, it'll get you in the dust collection game, probably the cheapest for the biggest motor you could find. All right, and then brings us to our final corner. So we started in that corner with lumber storage, went all the way around to this corner. And this is my newest acquisition. It is a 240 volt air compressor, 16 CFM max, and I can't remember what gallon it is. Let's look. I don't know. It's a lot of gallons. I think it was 80 gallons. For some reason, I just can't remember off the top of my head, but it is a beast of an air compressor. It handles all my needs, all the CFM I need to run pretty much any spray gun or air tool that relates to woodworking and a little bit of metalworking. All right, so now that we've gone all the way around the shop, let's talk about the center of the shop, and that is my assembly table. It is 4 feet by 8 feet, so I can build just about anything I can lift on this thing and more. The top is a torsion box, so it is nice and flat and very sturdy. It doesn't flex or anything, so I can put all kinds of weight up here and nothing bad happens to it. The underside apron of the table has outlets in it, so I always have power to be able to plug in a router in it. And then I have a little vise here on the end, and it's just a little rinky-dink vise. I'm hoping to upgrade that maybe to the Andy Klein vise, or just build a Rubo style workbench in the future. But the reason why this is in the center is because this is the heart of everything that I do. I assemble everything here, I sand everything here, I build everything here, I lay everything out here. And so then when I'm in the rough-in stage, all right, so when I'm in the rough-in stage getting a project started and I have the material in the rough, I can pile it all up here, lay it out, and just pick it up and cut it to a rough length using the ready orb saw right there. And then put it back on the table, and then once I get everything sorted out, ready to joint, then the jointer is right there, so I can join all the parts, stacking and sorting them back and forth from the jointer to the table, and then again put the material from here through the planer. Now the planer has rollers on the top that I can stack material on as it comes out the other side. Then I also have those shop-made sawhorses there that I have often stacked up on this side, just so as material comes out, I can stack it back on there so it's out of the way. So it's very efficient for having this table right in the center of my shop, ready to go for roughing in the material. And then on the other side of the shop, I have all my hand tools and routers and everything for finishing work on this side, and my vise on this side, so that way I can assemble everything here, use the vise to hold the work to dial in a fit of a tenon or hand plane, anything I need or whatever's going on there. And the tools are all right there. Table saw is all right there to cut it to a final length and get everything fit right here on the center. So all the action happens on this center. And then if I'm building something big, I have this space in the middle here to where I can set the project that I'm working on, like a huge desk or something. I can set right there and construct the drawers to stick in the desk or whatever in this open space right here. So this is a little table that's going to be coming up on the YouTube channel here in the next little bit. It is in progress right now. So yeah, I would not change this no matter what. The tools around here might change in my shop, but this will always be the center of my shop. It is very efficient to have that there. All right, so that's my shop. Thanks for following along. If you want to build any of the things like my assembly table or the router table, I don't know if I have plans for these guys up or not, but I have plans for a lot of this stuff on my website. I'll put links down below. If you want to build my fancy shop door, please check out the woodwhispererguild.com. That is launching spring of 2023 here. So once that launches, then hopefully I'll try to remember to come back and put a link in the description here. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified, so when I finish this awesome table, you will know that it is ready to watch. And I'll give you a little preview here. Here's my little shop drawing, fumbling around here. All right, there it is. That's what it's gonna be, a little preview. All right, thanks for watching.